when we're thinking about, the Superman building, when we're thinking about the Cranston Street Armory, we need to be thinking about AI.
Hey there, folks. I'm your host, Chris Parisi, and this is the AI Wave, the only podcast that combines the world of AI with business with a little touch of Rhode Island, making sure we're the leader in this AI revolution. Today, we're chatting with Corey Jones, Chief of Program Development at Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training and Community Leader and Activist. Let's dive in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Corey Jones with us. It's a special treat as we get to talk about AI and the effect that it has on the job market, economy, state government, and more. Corey, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
All right, great. Well, we're going to get right off to the first question, which is about you, Corey. We know you're from Iowa, the home of the caucus, but tell us a little bit about yourself that got you here to Rhode Island.
Yeah, so really just a good friend, Miguel Sanchez, who's now sitting councilor in Ward 6, and I came here and I fell in love during the BLM movement. I found myself working with Governor McKee as a policy advisor, and now I find myself as Chief of Policy and Planning at the Governor's Workforce Board. And my thoughts today are only mine and not representative of my division or department. But this is really important stuff, and I'm happy that you guys are really thinking about it.
I appreciate that. What made you fall in love with Rhode Island that kept you here? I'm always curious about when talented folks like yourself, stay here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Iowa, I always was the outcast, right? I was, the first Black family in an all-white town. And we had a lot of challenges with racism and just being accepted and included in our community. And I came here during the BLM movement and met so many great activists and felt welcomed and accepted and brought into the community very quickly. And I just felt like home.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we're glad you're here, that's for sure. You've already been making an impact on this state. And in your role, and obviously these views are your opinion only, but in your role in the Governor's Workforce Board, there's going to be a disruption, right, when it comes to AI. And we're going to dive into that topic, really talk about the opportunities as well when it comes to AI and jobs and training. But when it comes to the disruption, where does your mind go to first of, all right, how can we mitigate the loss? And then we could talk about the opportunities there are as well.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, during the COVID disruption, workforce disruption, I was reading an article or a report by the Democratic Governors Association. And it was titled something along the lines of the continuous, workforce disruption that's pending. And it cited 2030 as being when we would see, the emerging technology, cause workforce disruption at the same tier that COVID did. And, surprisingly enough, a few years later, we see AI bringing that disruption now. So, this is really a continuation of COVID, of, Uber and, taxis, of DoorDash and, workers that are traditionally hired by a business to do that same type of work. The gig economy and technology as a whole has evolved in a way that has created more jobs, but in the immediate term has displaced more workers. And so I think we as a nation and as a state are in a really good position to be able to mitigate the effects of AI and other emerging technologies disruption. But we have to really change our thinking and make our programs more adaptable to the type of audience that will be disrupted that conventionally has not. For example, traditionally workforce programs are geared towards people who, don't have a high school education and maybe are getting a GED, or maybe they have a high school education and they're looking for a 2-year, a trades program, or something that they can do beyond a high school diploma. But dealing with folks that have a master's, have a bachelor's degree, and are looking for a new field where their skills might be transferable is going to be a real challenge, and is going to require thinking differently about how these programs work.
That's a good point. And you mentioned the programs that are currently exist
Yes.
here, under DLT, under Governor's Workforce Board, and many other state programs. And
Mhm.
it makes me think, and I'm actually, calling on the state to create a task force and to
Mhm.
do something about it now, be proactive about it. And my point was, we don't even need to recreate the whole wheel. We
Right.
just need to adapt our programs similar to how our businesses need to adapt with AI.
Mhm.
So, what are some programs that currently exist
Yeah.
that can be adapted for this AI revolution when it comes either on the worker side, the skill force
Mhm.
development, or on the business side?
Yeah, so we actually have a great program called Real Jobs Rhode Island that um, allows us to be agile and work to support displaced workers in a scenario just like this. We have the federal WIOA program, which I think that task force could be could be huge in moving the needle and making that federal program that's moves very lethargic and is very archaic, to be more agile and to be more up to date to the needs that we currently have. So I'm very supportive of this task force. I think that it's needed, and I think that first we need to ask ourselves, okay, what is the job markets that are going to be disrupted? Okay, and
Mm,
then we need to say, how does that, can we do an analysis of our current job markets and these jobs that will be disrupted? And then we say, okay, once we have some type of projection, what is the rate of adoption that we are projecting each industry to be disrupted, right? And then we need to say, how can we utilize, this opportunity and support the people who are currently in these roles and get them educated to use AI to be prompt engineers. I talked to Anthony from Providence Youth Build, and he had an interesting perspective. He said, we have a lot of kids that go through his program that um, get done with it and they want to do tech,
mm.
right? And he said we could turn them into prompt engineers without even having a bachelor's degree and have them coding and doing tech. And I think the bar of entry is lower. And so we need to realize the opportunities we have with the bar entry being lower. And then we also need to say, okay, how do we mitigate this and make sure that the people that lose their jobs can get a good, well paying job quick that their skills will be useful in?
I mean, that's brilliant, right? Like, let's do the analysis. Let's
Hmm.
dig into this. Let's take ownership of it as a state and figure out what are the types of jobs that are going to be lost. What are the new opportunities as well? And then with that analysis, we can alter existing programs or
Yes.
maybe create new programs. But as we know, that takes a whole nother fiscal year.
Hmm.
So let's first look at, we don't have a year, right? This is going
Yeah.
to impact us today, not 2030.
Hmm.
So what are the existing programs that we can alter based on that analysis that you really intelligently laid out?
Hmm.
And then how can we get our workforce ready for this
Yeah.
AI movement? You talked about the youth. That's one of the key segments is
Hmm.
the emergent talent, those that are just graduating high school, college, to get them ready for this new AI economy. But also the displaced workers, how can we support them? And then also the businesses, how can we
Yeah.
get them to adapt? So let's talk about the businesses for a second. What would be some programs that currently exist to kind of stay on that theme that
Hmm.
businesses can use to adapt to this AI movement?
Yeah, so now we kind of venture into the Department of Commerce, right? And I think that the tools that they have in their technical assistance programs, their grant programs, can be leveraged to kind of do the same thing that their programs currently do, and that's supporting businesses that are innovating and attracting innovation to the state. Right, using these funds to tell a AI company, build your headquarters here,
Hmm.
right? Creating pipelines within our educational institutions for that AI company that we can theoretically bring here. So I think that when we're thinking about the Superman building, when we're thinking about the Cranston Street Armory, we need to be thinking about AI because a lot of these a lot of these institutions, the challenge is finding the profitable, company that has not already set their ground down, their foundation down somewhere else. And we're seeing, big tech go to Texas, go to New York, go to these different states and become more decentralized outside of Silicon Valley. So I think we capitalize on that. I think we, make it clear that, we are going to not only put a landing pad down, so we make it easier for these companies to register and to be properly regulated. But we also say we're going to give you money, right? We're going to make it easier to adopt this new technology. And I'm not an expert on what we have at Commerce, but I know that Commerce does pretty good, and they have a lot of great programs that can be utilized.
That's a great point, right? And on the Commerce, led by the great Liz Tanner, there's
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of great programs out there. You mentioned technical assistance.
Yes.
That's one that's being administered by Skills for Rhode Island.
Yes.
And that program is a great example. I actually did include that in the op-ed of
Mm-hmm.
there are existing programs like that one. All we need to do is just add a topic called AI adoption.
Yes.
Have the experts behind it trained, because this program is free for small businesses to apply to, and then they get the services by a vendor who's also a Rhode Island business, paid for by the state. So we're helping our local economy by
Yes.
paying local vendors, and we're helping our businesses adapt by providing them these services. That program's going on currently. Why not add AI adoption as a
Right.
topic, right? And you mentioned Commerce about how they can recruit.
Mm-hmm.
The business development side of recruiting these businesses. Why not have Rhode Island? Why not have Providence be the tech hub for this AI revolution?
Exactly. And yeah, and we're the creative capital, right?
Right.
And AI, I know some creatives are like anti-AI, and then you got the other creatives that's like, no, but like we can use it, right?
Exactly.
So I made a rug on Dolly, right? I made, and I threw it into Photoshop and I did some edits to it, right? So it's not like the AI did it completely,
Right.
but I told AI, take this artist's, carpet style, right? Now take a sunflower and use his style and make it into a rug for me, right? And so I think that we can capitalize on the fact that we're the creative capital. We can attract, businesses that intersect with these emerging technologies and also with our values of being the creative capital.
I mean, that's right in our wheelhouse at Trailblaze, right? We call it the human endpoints, where the humans at the beginning develop that prompt to have AI produce the work.
Yes.
And then at the other end is the human editing it, right?
Yes.
What we say is AI will enhance you, not replace you.
Right.
And for our creative team, right, at first they were a little skeptical, but then once they started to delve into the tools, they realized that, wow, this actually gives me more time to be more creative
Yes.
with my craft.
Yes.
So we have full adoption here. And as other creative agencies, marketing agencies, whatever you may be, you can do that here in Rhode Island in the creative capital of Providence. So I love that.
Yeah.
So we talked about the businesses, we talked about the employees, and we talked about how it's doable, Rhode Island. We have existing programs that we just need to tweak. But if there was a new program
Yeah.
that you would create, if you had a magic wand that policy can just be created right away and go into effect July 1st, for instance, what would that program or policy be to best have Rhode Island adapt to this AI revolution?
Well, if I had my magic wand, the first thing I would do is the task force, because we have to say, what is the playing field before we start playing, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I did not pay him to say that, but I agree with you.
Yeah. So, once we take that task force, we do the analysis and we say, okay, these are the job markets that are going to be disrupted, right? Then we have to say, okay, what is the rate of the adoption, right? And what is the benefits and how do they outweigh the pros and cons of being a supporter and adopting faster, right? And so, I would take some funds and I would put it into our educational institutions to create programs that don't exist to, not only have curriculums around AI, but also have training programs for individuals who, might be an accountant and want to utilize AI in their accounting work and be able to make their work more efficient and more accurate. And then I would take some money and I would put it into the existing programs because we really do have great programs there. We really do.
We really do.
we really are in a position to handle this. But I would put that money into that program, that the current programs we have, and use it in a way to create more programs for folks with bachelor's and master's degree. I would also throw in another analysis on transferable skills from the job markets that are going to be most impacted. So, we can tell you if an individual is working previously in electric boat, that, their best job going from electric boat to, A, B, or C, we can tell you what that is. But when we haven't historically worked with individuals who have master's and bachelor's degrees and put them into new jobs, we can't tell you what their transferable skills are. So I think I would pay someone to do a real good analysis and come up with the closest jobs to folks with those type of backgrounds in the jobs that are going to be most impacted. I think it's not at the state level, I don't think it's very difficult. I think that, the work, the pathway is there, but we just have we have to just be quick to get to it.
You're right. It's about the speed. And Corey, I'm so happy that you're on board. Rhode Islanders, if you have to be on board as well with this task force, talk to your local politicians, your representatives, your elected officials. Demand that we need to do something about this. It's not all scary. AI is not that scary. It's actually pretty understandable once you really dive into it. It's an opportunity that we need to take advantage of, and we can as a state. And step one, let's learn more about it. And that's what we're asking for with the AI task force, is let's do the analysis that Corey talked about. Let's figure out what the pathway is to be that leader in this AI revolution, to recruit new businesses, adopt our current businesses, and train that talent, to build that talent pool for these startups and businesses that come here. And one way to do that is through the education system. In this task force, I know the leaders in education, higher ed, RIDE, they would have to have a seat at this table.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your thoughts on when it comes to the impact of AI on the education system.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of different angles, right? There's the, how does it impact the classroom and the work that's being done, right? And then, I've had some educators that are like, we need to teach how to use AI. And some are like, we need to do everything we can to ensure students are doing their work, right? And then, there's the question of, how does it impact existing companies that are in the educational space? So Chegg is $1 billion company. And Chegg, I used Chegg in college to get my books, but now Chegg helps you with your homework. And, Chegg, I think their last earning call said that they're seeing a drop in their amount of people that are signing up because of ChatGPT.
Wow.
And they saw their stock fall by 48%.
Wow.
Right? $1 billion company. So, there's the education industry and the education field is going to be shook up by AI. And, that's from a business perspective, but also from the classroom perspective, but also from, how do you assess their work and how do you teach and implement this new technology? And so at one point we didn't have calculators, right?
I was just
and
going to mention that, right?
I'm sure that there was this scare at the same time, right? And me, I don't do anything without my calculator, right? It's on my phone. I have one at my desk and I pull it up on my computer if I need it. I don't bother to do 2 + 2 without my calculator, but I know how to do it without my calculator. And so I think, we have some past experiences we can learn from, but if we don't act, that's the biggest concern, right? If we do not move and we say, oh, this is going to be just like the metaverse, this is going to be just like, robots, right? And all those things are coming, right? That's the thing, is that, people see emerging technologies as trends, but it's not, those things aren't correlated to those same degree, right? These things may have seemed bigger at one moment than what they do now, but that doesn't mean, 2K, Y2K was, folks were like, oh, it's just a buzz. But it's like, no, look at the internet now, right?
Right.
We have seen the internet open up corruption across the globe, right? People are able in seconds to post a picture and make it go viral and shed, light on a moment that has been able to decide wars or not, right? Seeing the corruption in another country from the internet has changed the way our global world communicates. And while Y2K was sort of a buzz because it didn't have the hype that around the moment, at the same time that hype in the span of the last 20 years was not a buzz.
Well, that's great. And, definitely one thing I want to also talk about is at the individual level, right? We talked about businesses, we talked about the state level, but how can the average person, so to speak, that may not be in marketing, may not be in government, their job may not be necessarily impacted? Like, talk to our good friend Jennifer Ortiz, who is a hairstylist. She's like, this isn't going to affect me. But it probably is, right? So like, how do individuals prepare for this?
I love Jennifer. She's great. And, I would tell Jennifer, right, that, maybe you don't need to schedule your appointments anymore, right? Maybe you can create, an AI assistant with ChatGPT and Zapier, and, AI can answer the majority of your emails. I was really intrigued by what Sam Altman said on the Lex Fridman podcast. He said that Sam Altman is the CEO of ChatGPT. He said that he was fascinated that people are using ChatGPT like Google, right? They're using it to, be a fact finder or to be like their personal database. But he said, the real innovation in ChatGPT and generative AI and machine learning is the fact that it can reason, right? It can solve, tough math programs like the protein, which I don't know nothing about, but I know that AI solved, a protein math problem that we've been trying to solve for 50 years.
Wow.
Right. And so the real innovation in AI is utilizing it to innovate yourself, right? Because it's like it's like you have a second mind. And I think that as individuals, we need to think differently about how we can utilize AI at, a smaller scale. We are entering an era where people might use AI to make one app for one moment, right? One use case, and then you throw it away like a napkin or a paper towel.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, to really grasp what it is and how it works, and finding out how you can use it to innovate your day, right? I make beats for fun. And I like making melodies, but I don't like making the drums. So, and some people will lose their mind from that. But so now I use an AI app to make my drum patterns.
Right.
And then I make the melody myself. And so I can do what I like to do the most in that process.
I mean, that's a great point you just made. And this is the same thing we talk about with our creative team is let AI either fill in the gaps, the knowledge gaps that you have, or do some mundane tasks that you don't want to do, or, so you could focus on what you enjoy the most, right? Or if you're maybe not that advanced with AI, just try it out, right?
Yeah.
And it could be used personally. For instance, I'm going to try out intermittent fasting, right? So I said, hey, you're an expert in this. I'm your patient. Here's what I'm going to do. What is the best way to go about this? What are the foods I should take? Should I work out during the fasting, not during the fasting? And it gives me all this information. Or if you want to know what type of diet you should go on based on these are the items I like. And I always give the example of, I let it know, here's the foods that are in my fridge. What recipes can I make within 15 to 20 minutes? Because I got a child screaming and a wife that's not home yet. What can I do? Right. And, so those are like real life personal examples of how you can use ChatGPT, for instance, in addition to the high level, more intricate solutions of using AI as well.
Yeah. And, to all my political friends, my friends in office, AI can write you a letter of support in 5 minutes, right? You're writing 20, 30 letters of supports, this session for different bills, and AI can do that in 5, 10 minutes, right? And, I think that there's a lot of different use cases, and I think almost everybody can use AI in some way to make their life easier and to make their task go faster.
Exactly. And that gives you more time to do what you love and to make an impact on the world.
Yes.
And one generation that's going to make a big impact on the world is those that are graduating recently.
Mhm.
So we just had our recent 2023 class just graduate here in May, and we have a lot of great universities here in Rhode Island. So, Corey, if you could speak into the camera,
Yeah.
give advice, what would you say to those that just graduated college and higher ed?
I would say that, you have an opportunity out of the world, right? Like, this is a great opportunity. Take this opportunity and utilize it. And, you might be going into a workplace that using AI is frowned upon, right? You might be going to a workplace that might be one of the slow adopters, but you might be the person in that workplace that is going to stop that company from failing when all their competitors adopts AI. You might be the person in that workplace that shows them how, instead of closing this business, we can fire 3 people and still do what we need to do and make our bottom line. And, I think as a young person myself, 26 years old, in my workplace, a lot of folks are looking to me to be, the person to put them onto these emerging technologies. And I'm happy to do it, but in my workplace, we're not dependent on, the amount of clients or the amount of money that we need in order to, run the staff that we have. Like, we're not gonna, government isn't gonna disappear, but some of these jobs will. And so you might be the only person that can save your job.
Be our saviors, young generation. I mean, you have a great opportunity in front of you. Learn it inside and out. When you go into these interviews, you let them know that you took that initiative to learn it, and then here's a way that your business, as you interview, can
Mhm.
apply that technology. And look for those businesses that are going all in on AI because they're the ones that are going to be around for years to come. So they have a great opportunity, like you said, Corey, in front of them. What are some other opportunities out there when it comes to AI and the marketplace? Because this is an exciting time. So,
Yeah.
like, what are some positive opportunities that you can think of when it comes to AI and the economy?
Well, I think, Bernie Sanders just introduced a bill to make the work week 4 days a week. And I think that, with these new technologies, I think stuff like that is realistic. I think it's realistic without these new technologies,
Hmm.
let me be clear. But I think that, when productivity is increasing and, we're making more money, right? Businesses are making more money than ever before. I think that this is the perfect opportunity to incorporate AI into the daily work that your job is doing and to give your workers a 4-day work week. So I think, you know, we are facing brain drain. Folks are burnt out. And, the tough part is that this isn't, we're far away from AI revolutionizing nurses, right? We have a nursing shortage, and creating an AI application that's HIPAA compliant and works within the regulatory frameworks of the hospitals is not going to be an easy task to do. And so I think the tough part is that there's a lot of job industries that this isn't changing tomorrow. Um, but the jobs that it is, I think that we have a huge opportunity, and hopefully AI can help us make these other innovations quicker. Maybe we can use AI to make robots quicker. Maybe you can use AI to 3D print houses quicker, right? So there's a lot of other emerging technology that's on the rise, and hopefully we can couple AI with it and get there quicker.
I love that. And why not make Rhode Island be the leader in this AI revolution? That's
Mhm.
what I'm asking you all. And that's what Corey's wondering as well is why not?
Yes,
You just laid it out for us. You laid it out how practical and realistic it is for AI for the state of Rhode Island to adopt
yes,
AI, right? And
absolutely.
step one, create the task force. We got to do it, Rhode Island leaders. I'm calling on all of you from the highest state levels to those in the General Assembly and those
Mhm.
elected officials that support us Rhode Islanders. You got to make sure our state is ready for the future to come. And that starts by looking within, having a
Yeah.
task force that's very diverse of
Mhm.
all different sectors and mindsets and backgrounds so that we can have a full picture of what it's going to look like. And then
Yeah.
we could be proactive about it. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive to be the
Yes.
leaders of this AI revolution.
Yeah, we have great leaders like Senator Louis DePalma, who works in IT. He
Hmm.
introduced a bill to do a review of all state agencies that currently use AI. To a lot of people's amazement, we currently use AI throughout state government. If you go to the backtoworkri.com website and you use their career compass or their employer finder, you can use AI to feed it information, and then it'll help you in finding a job, right? And so we currently use AI. The question is, you know, what API are we using, right? Is it as up to date as, some of the new emerging AI like ChatGPT? And how much are we paying for it, right? Government often, because of our procurement processes, we get, really expensive um, deals for consultants and like tech,
Mm.
and so I think we're currently using AI throughout government, right? And senators and legislators are aware of that, and let's rope them into the work that we're doing in order to create a cushion for the workforce displacement that's coming as well.
Well said. We're already using it. Why not take advantage of this opportunity? And Corey, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. But if you
Absolutely.
had one more thought, one more thing to share with our wonderful audience, what would it be?
It's that this is the start, or maybe the second wave of workforce disruption, right?
Hmm.
We are going to be seeing, this next AI revolution or technology revolution disrupt the workforce as we know it year after year. And so, prepare. And, as someone who's not a business owner, I don't know what that looks like, but prepare and be ready to adopt. We can't say, "Oh no, I'm not with this new thing," because before you know it, those new things are gonna be making or breaking your business.
Wow. Well said. Corey Jones, activist, community leader, workforce developer. Thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
for joining us.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a great interview that was. Thank you so much to Corey to taking the time to talk about the impact of AI on our great state of Rhode Island. I mean, after that conversation, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have Rhode Island create that AI task force to prepare our workforce and set us up to be leaders in this economy. What do you think? Let us know. Drop a line, put a comment below to let us know how you think Rhode Island can adapt to this ever-changing world that we're living in and how we can adapt to AI when it comes to the workforce. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, like, subscribe, share this with others to let them know what's going on and to catch the AI wave as well. Thank you very much and see you next episode.